In over 2 decades of doing this, I've never had a buyer call me and tell me that Saddlehorn was on the top of their list. I've also never had anybody who has bought here and 6 months later called me to tell me that they regret it. That's an interesting trend. Let me show you why. Because nobody calls me asking for Saddlehorn. What they call me about is newer construction, better schools, and a commute that doesn't require a coping mechanism. They want a life that will stop working against them. And after looking at half of Reno, this is where they end up. So today I'm going to actually show you what it's like. The good, the bad, and yes, the wind too. And why people who weren't even looking at this neighborhood end up picking it anyways. And if we haven't met, I'm Rayner. I help families relocate to northern Nevada and the Lake Tahoe area. I've been doing this for over 2 decades and I'm a licensed broker in both California and Nevada. And I made this move myself back in 2015. So I understand what you're actually trying to figure out right now. And it's really not about the house. It's more to do with what your life will look like on the other side of that decision. Because you're not actually buying a future house. What you are buying is what your future Tuesdays will look like. And Saddlehorn has a way of making those Tuesdays a little less complicated. Let me show you why. This is going to be about the pattern nobody's talking about. And here's something that I've noticed after doing this for 2 decades. Buyers rarely come in looking for Saddlehorn. They may have already toured Montreux, or they've even possibly walked ArrowCreek. They've driven through the luxury communities, they've seen the golf courses, and they've done the math on the HOA fees. And then they end up in Saddlehorn. And that's when everything changes. Because the buyers who end up in here aren't the ones who are chasing more square footage. What they come back saying over and over is they're looking for an easier daily experience. More privacy, more breathing room, and less congestion with less noise. They're wanting a neighborhood that feels more established and less manufactured. And at roughly 430 homes, Saddlehorn has that rare quality where it feels exclusive without feeling isolated. It feels like a place that people just move in and stay. And in today's market, that's becoming increasingly rare. So let's talk numbers. Most of the homes in Saddlehorn end up running right between $1.4 to $2.1 million. That's depending on lot size, views, updates, and custom features. Now, before you feel like Northern Nevada has lost its mind, let's put that into perspective. A typical Saddlehorn property generally runs between 3,500 to 5,000 square feet. Has custom construction and mature landscaping. Gonna generally run between a half an acre to a full acre on the lots. A lot of these properties come with 3 and 4 car garages. They have mountain views, privacy that's actually private, and now take that exact same home and drop that into Granite Bay, Danville, Pleasanton, San Ramon, or El Dorado Hills, or parts of Orange County. Now you're looking at 3 to 5 million or more. And in many cases, you'll still end up with less land, more traffic, higher taxes, higher insurance, and much closer relationships to your neighbors than you ever planned on having. This is just one of the reasons why Saddlehorn keeps winning people over. In many parts of California, that budget buys you a home here that you might buy half the house, half the garage, and a neighborhood where you know things about your neighbors you genuinely wish you didn't. Here, buyers often find similar lifestyles, newer homes, and more space for roughly half the cost. But let's talk about the luxury that nobody's talking about. When most people hear luxury, they picture wine rooms, resort backyards, custom kitchens, and designer finishes. And yes, those things are great. But after helping hundreds of families make moves, I've noticed some stuff. The wealthier the buyer, the less they talk about the house itself. And the more they spend talking about their lifestyle and how they want the house to fit that. The luxury that they're actually chasing is time, convenience, privacy, and yes, a little peace. It's about getting to the airport in 20 minutes. It's not about spending your weekends in traffic doing math about which route is least bad. It's about having enough distance between you and your neighbor so that you don't get dragged into that family conflict. It's about sitting outside on a summer evening and wanting to be there. That's luxury people remember about 6 months after moving in. It's not the countertops, it's their life. Let's talk about the Saturday test. And here's my theory. Real luxury isn't just about the square footage. It's whether you can get everything done on a Saturday and still have some Saturday left over. And from Saddlehorn, you're approximately 10 minutes from the summit. You're only about 15 to 20 minutes from Mount Rose Ski Resort. You're approximately 20 minutes from the Reno Tahoe International Airport. You're also only about 20 minutes to downtown and about 30 to 40 minutes from Lake Tahoe. One of the things that we constantly hear back from residents is just how much life feels efficient. Inside of Saddlehorn, you're tucked away just enough to have a little bit of peace and quiet, but not still be isolated. Most errands don't become all-day events. That sounds simple until you've spent years somewhere that turned every Saturday into a logistics experience that you needed to recover from. I want to show you what some of the locals actually love because this one surprised me also. Ask any one of the residents what they love about living here and you will hear the same thing over and over, and that is privacy. The lots here range anywhere from about a half an acre to just over 1 acre. And in today's world, space is becoming an aspect of luxury in and of itself. It's the ability to sit in your backyard and not have a direct sight line into somebody else's kitchen is something buyers don't fully appreciate until they have it again. And the views? Depending on your location in the neighborhood, you're either looking at mountain views, valley views, city lights at night, and some genuinely remarkable sunsets. The kind that make visitors stop mid-sentence. And wildlife? Well, this one surprises a lot of guests. It's not uncommon to see mule deer in the morning, hawks overhead, quails moving through the bush, and rabbits doing whatever rabbits do. And every now and then, that neighbor has that wild horse story you weren't expecting. And that's one of those uniquely Northern Nevada experiences that never gets old. Most of the homes that are in here are built in the late 1900s to early 2000s, with some homes being built even currently. And when buyers hear that, sometimes the instinct is to go newer is better. But that's actually one of Saddlehorn's distinct advantages. The mature vegetation is already there. The landscaping has already grown in. The neighborhood has character. You're not waiting 20 years for the neighborhood to grow up to look like something that you actually want to live in. And unlike newer luxury communities where the same floor plan repeats itself down the street with slightly different stone accents, the homes here have their own personality. Some of them more than others. And occasionally, some of them have a little too much. But that's part of the charm. But let's talk about weather, because Saddlehorn sits approximately at 5,200 to 5,600 feet in elevation. This means cooler summer evenings, 4 actual seasons, cleaner air, views that change constantly, and slightly more snow than lower elevations in Reno neighborhoods. For buyers coming from Phoenix, Las Vegas, Southern California, summer here is a revelation. So while their friends are hiding indoors because it's still 110 degrees outside, Saddlehorn residents are eating dinner on the patio. And now, yes, you will get snow. You'll get wind, and Reno weather occasionally struggles with commitment. Some days you're gonna wake up to sunshine, see snow on the peaks, wear a jacket in the morning, eat lunch on the patio, and wonder what season you're currently participating in by dinner. Most of the residents would tell you that's part of the appeal. And after living somewhere with only 2 seasons, where it's either hot or slightly less hot, Four Seasons feels like an actual feature. And before I tell you who Saddlehorn's actually built for, I want to share something with you I would have liked to have known. And that is the things that Zillow will never tell you. Let's talk about the things you're actually going to care about roughly 6 months after you've moved in. Internet, insurance, medical access, and future developments. Not exciting topics, but very important ones. With insurance, homes near open space or natural vegetation can carry different insurance costs than properties that are lower in the valley. It's not a deal breaker, but it's something that you're going to want to have a firm number on before you're in contract and not afterwards. Next on the list is growth. Saddlehorn feels mature and established because it is, but South Reno around it continues to evolve. Roads improve, retail expands, and more features are coming to the area. The upside is increasing convenience. The downside is that empty field may not be empty in the near future. And that's where the local knowledge becomes genuinely valuable. So let's talk about internet and cell service. They're strong throughout developed South Reno. That's not a conversation you should have to have from here out. With healthcare access, there's multiple hospital systems with specialty care within a reasonable drive. So if you're moving from a major metro, then this should have a very familiar feel. Now the wind, because it's real. Not interesting weather phenomenon real, actually windy the first time your patio furniture attempts an unscheduled relocation to your neighbor's yard. You'll understand what I mean. Most days you'll be fine, and other days you will be developing a strong opinion about the weather. But there's one thing I constantly see with California relocators, and this one's actually one of the more stressful processes for relocating, and that is trying to coordinate two sales across two state lines all at the same time. You're selling in California and trying to buy in Nevada, and those timelines don't seem to cooperate, because why would they? Coupled with my 2 decades as a broker in both California and Nevada, my wife has spent 34 years in the industry working both escrow and lending. We know exactly where these things break down and exactly how to sequence them, so you're not sitting in a hotel for 6 weeks because these closings didn't line up. We've worked through this process enough times that we have a clear playbook on exactly how to avoid that. If that's a concern to you, that's one of the first things we'll talk through. So here's the honest version of who Saddlehorn is actually for and who should probably just keep looking. In my experience, Saddlehorn tends to attract executives, business owners, medical professionals relocating from California, remote workers who need solid infrastructure and don't want to even think about it, and sometimes retirees and pre-retirees that are optimizing for quality of life and not square footage. Move-up buyers who have done the math and want to establish over new. Families who want more space, privacy, and schools that actually perform. The common thread isn't income, it's priorities. They've done with all of the chaos. They want less noise, more breathing room, and a life that doesn't require constant management. Who probably won't love it are buyers who want downtown walkability. That's Midtown Reno, not here. People particularly looking for brand new construction with brand new everything. Anyone who needs 10 acres and enough land to lose a tractor. Or buyers who want no HOA and full creative freedom over what the property will end up looking like. If that's you, there's properties in Washoe Valley, the North Valleys, or other parts of northern Nevada worth looking at. Not every neighborhood is good for every buyer. And that's what actually makes the right neighborhood feel so right. But the funny thing about Saddlehorn is almost nobody ends up starting their search there. They tour Montreux, they end up walking ArrowCreek, they do their research, and then somehow end up at Saddlehorn. And then it just stays in the conversation. Because at this price point, buyers aren't actually just shopping for a house. They're shopping for time. They're shopping for convenience. They're shopping for privacy. And they're even shopping for some peace. They're shopping for a life that works for them and not against them. That's why nobody calls me asking me about Saddlehorn. But it's also the same reason why so many people end up here anyways. And that is an interesting pattern. So if you're thinking about this move, whether Saddlehorn's on your list or you're trying to still figure out what neighborhood actually fits your life, my team and I are happy to give you all the information and help you work through that. We've helped a lot of California families navigate this very conversation. The sell, the buy, the two-state timing, and the am I sure about this conversation that everyone has at some point. You can schedule a time to walk through this conversation at meetwithchris.com. We'll pull up Google Maps and walk through the neighborhoods, and you won't have any sort of sales pitch or high pressure. We simply want to have a conversation with you to see if it even makes sense for you or not. And if you're still in research mode, then hit that subscribe button. Every week, we put out a video of what it's actually like to work and live here in Northern Nevada. I'm Chris Raynor, your go-to realtor for all things Reno. We'll see you on the next one.